Savior all day long. Amen.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Brother Vincent.
I was looking around. I didn't see some come in. I just thought it was going to be all brothers here this afternoon for a while there.
They fooled you.
We thank God for you. Thank God for Brother Eric leading songs for us
Amen.
this afternoon. And every time I hear that song, "This Is My Story," I think about Fanny Crosby. I don't know if you probably have heard of her, but she couldn't write those beautiful songs until she became totally blind.
Blind, yes, sir.
Totally blind.
Mm-hmm.
And she wrote some beautiful lyrics, and thank God for
Yes, Lord.
beautiful and writing those beautiful hymns that she wrote.
Mm-hmm.
This morning, we talked about who God called and the kind of people He's called. So tonight, just briefly, we want to just talk briefly about how does God need us? How does God need us? Some folks, and I believe some members of the church, seem to think that God don't need them. And I guess they say, well, I can't do nothing for God, but what can God do for me? And so they shy away, they stay away, or they don't do.
Mm-hmm. Amen. You're right.
God, I can't, God don't need nothing. God don't think of me that way. God, everything. And the reason I said that because sometimes, not that they literally said that, but based on the conversation. Like something, well, I miss church. Don't nobody miss me.
How do you know?
Have you ever heard
Yes, sir.
something like that?
Amen.
Sometimes when you're talking,
Amen. All the time.
that's
sir.
that's kind of like a mind thing.
Mm-hmm.
It sets up in your mind that I'm not needed,
Mm-hmm. Not wanted.
I'm not worthy,
Wanted.
and I can't do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Wrong.
Man.
Jesus, in this text that Brother E.J. read, he sent two of his disciples into Bethany to get a coat for the purpose which we call today his triumphant victory into Jerusalem. When he first went in, well, not when he first, but when he went into Jerusalem, and would be the last time he would go in, Jesus went in riding a mule.
Amen. Mm-hmm. What they say.
And he sent two of his disciples into this village. He said, go ye into the village over against you, in which at your entering you shall find a coat tied, whereon yet never a man sat. Loose him and bring him hither.
Yeah.
And if any man asks you, why do you loose him?
And the Lord has need.
Thus shall you say unto him, because the Lord had need of him.
Amen. All right. Got it.
God has need of you. God had need of us.
Amen.
He told these disciples where to go. And he told them what to do when they got there.
Yeah.
And he also told them what to say. Now you put that in the gospel message. He said, go ye, where? Into all the world. What do? You teach all nations.
All nations.
And after you teach them, you baptize them in the name of the Father, Son, and of the Holy Ghost. And lo, I'll be with you until the end of the earth.
Word.
So he told us where to go. Just don't try to go to the moon or go to the Mars. I hear they're getting ready to try to go to Mars now. They done messed up Earth, and what they're trying to do, I think, is when Earth is all really messed up and God come back to take it, they're gonna beat God because they're gonna jump in their vessels and things that they're going to take off and set up and mess up them all. But anyway, that's a kind of facetious thought. But anyway, the Lord told us, basically, he has needs of us. And we want to just discuss that for just a moment. Let's look at the needs. Now, when it comes to needs, can we really say that God has needs? You think about that. When it comes to needs, can we say that God has need? In a sense, we can say that the Lord had need of nothing. Mm-hmm. And the Lord doesn't need us.
Right.
The Lord doesn't need anybody. Really. Now, why do you say that, Brother Benson? The psalmist named Asaph, I can't really call his name sometimes. Flip over to the 50th division of Psalms. And we're going to see what God said to Asaph about this need business. And we know that God is a good God, and he's a great God. Amen. And he's been in the lives of men for, ever since man would come upon the face of the earth. But look what he said to this psalmist. Psalm chapter 50, verse 9. Let's start at verse 9. Mm-hmm. God said, I will take no bullocks out of thy house, nor goats out of thy fold. Mm-hmm. For every beast of the forest is mine, mm-hmm. and the cattle upon 1,000 hills. I know all the fowls of the mountain, and the wild beasts of the fields are mine. Mm-hmm. If I was hungry, I would not tell thee. For the world is mine, and the fullness thereof.
Amen.
Now, hear what God said?
Yes, sir. Man.
I own everything. I don't have need for nothing.
Anything.
Because I'm God.
Yes, sir. Amen.
I know the beasts of the field. Count on 1,000 hills that you're making claim to. Mm-hmm. They are mine. Mm-hmm. I made them. I put them there. They were there when you came and when we came into the world, and guess what? They'll be there when we're gone. Mm-hmm. Amen. So what did man didn't make nothing. Mm-hmm. Man, I mean, just the very fact of just looking around at creation and everything will let you know that there is a great intelligent being that is much mightier, much greater than we can imagine.
Amen. Amen.
To create what we naturally see, mm-hmm. and put the order in place. Mm-hmm. You know what he told Job? I hung the world up on nothing.
Yes.
Where were you?
The earth is spinning around in this great big universe, and there's no pillars, there's no nothing. There's something called gravity.
Gravity, that's right.
That keeps it in place.
Amen.
And it's perfect. It's perfect. It works perfect. It's been working perfect for millions of years, they say. Mm-hmm. And of course, man won't take credit for a lot of it, but God said, I made everything.
Amen.
So from Israel, God wanted sincere worship. That's what he was talking to, basically, to the psalmist here. God said, I want sincere worship. Not because I need it, but I want it to come from the adoration of your heart, on your part. I want sincere worship. I want sincere adoration. Mm-hmm. And I want it to come from your heart. There is nothing we can do for God. He has no personal needs anywhere that we can fulfill. Mm-hmm. But nevertheless, there's another sense in which he needs us. So how does that fit in? How would that fit in? God has seen fit to use our lives and our acts for his kingdom. Mm-hmm. He's seen fit to include us into his plan. He's seen fit for us to use our lives. Didn't he tell the apostles one time when he was teaching, I think on the, we call it the Mount Oliver, in the Beatitudes, 5th chapter of the book of Matthew, verse 13, Jesus said, you're the salt
Of the earth.
of the earth.
Amen.
You see, that's including us. You're the light of the world. So he's using us.
Amen.
And like he's had need for us to do these things that he has asked us to do. Jesus needed a mule. And who did he send to do it? He sent his disciples to get the mule. And when the mule had never been rode, I said mule because that's basically what we use the term. It was a colt. Never been rode before.
Mm-hmm.
And Jesus sent
On that.
his disciples to get this mule so that he could ride into Jerusalem the way basically it was prophesied.
Amen.
But anyway, in John chapter 15 and 16, listen to what he said to them. Jesus said to his 12 disciples, he said, you did not choose me, but I chose you. And I anointed you to go and bear fruit. Fruit that would remain. So whatever you ask the Father in my name, he will give you.
Amen.
So how does God need us? God needs us because he has instituted. God has brought us in by his grace and his mercy. He has given us
Amen.
the ability to use our talents in his service, in his plan that he has for everlasting and eternal life. Isn't that great?
Amen.
He is making a, what would you think if God did everything for you? What would you think if you didn't have to really do nothing? You didn't have to think about nothing. You didn't have to work. You didn't have to get up. You would just be in the world existing. I guarantee you would be miserable.
Miserable. That's right.
You would be miserable because you know what? You would be worthless.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't have no responsibility, no nothing.
Right.
And you would be worthless.
Mm-hmm.
You know, oftentimes in certain things we were talking about, I said, now, here's somebody giving you milk. He's bringing milk and butter to your door every day. Why would you go out and buy a cow?
You don't need to.
See, because if you get a cow, you're going to have to what? Feed the cow,
Milk the
take
cow.
care of the cow. You're going to have to do a lot of things to get the cow. But if somebody going to bring you milk and butter every day, you wouldn't need a cow.
No, sir.
So God looks at us and he said, look, the talents, the abilities, and the mind that he's given us and everything. So God can use us.
Amen.
Not only that, God needs us because he has made that so through his grace. Church, today we are the ones that he called upon to go get the mule. Go get the coat. And then and he tells you what to say. Tells you what to preach when you go out. Tell you what to speak, how to speak, how to live, how to conduct yourselves for my kingdom,
Amen.
for the sake of others and also for your own sake. What he said to these 12, he says to us every day. He says to the 12, he said to us. By his grace and by his mercy, he has done so. He made man a part of the work of salvation. Paul said that we have this treasure in earthen vessels.
Vessels. Clay.
2 Corinthians 2:7, I believe. It's a treasure that God put in earthly vessels. When he knocked the Apostle Paul down, stopped him. He could have saved Paul on the road to Damascus, but he didn't save him. What did he do? He called the preacher, Ananias, send Paul down there to a street called Straight Damascus, and I want you to go talk. And the preacher didn't want to go because he knew this man killed folk. He killed Christians.
Yes, sir.
Why you send me? Jesus said he's a chosen vessel. He's been chosen. So God has chosen us. Jesus said, you didn't choose me. I chose you to include you into this plan. So how does he need us? Number one, if the Lord needs someone to be encouraged today, who does he need to do it?
Us.
He needs us.
Us.
He has given somebody in the church the ability to talk to somebody who need encouragement.
Yes, Lord.
Some folks can't do it as good as others. Now what is that? Well, what about the Bible for that? Acts chapter 4, verse 26, I believe. Yes. Who was he? Who had that ability? Barnabas. Joseph. He was so good at encouraging and lifting people up until the apostles named him Barnabas. That's what Barnabas' name means. The son of encouragement. The son of consolation. Acts chapter 4, verse 26. Barnabas could encourage people. He could get people to do it. I knew somebody that could just get folks to come to church. You know, his name was Kenneth Price. How many of us, you heard of Kenneth Price? He didn't know. Brother Adam. This congregation right here. Brother Stevens started this congregation. Brother Stevens, me, Brother Stevenson, and Brother Price. Kenneth Price used to be together a lot when this congregation first started. We used to be going around. Brother Stevens used to take me to people's homes. That's why Brother Benson hear a lot of stuff that's sticking in his head. That's what people say and what they think. Well, I can't come to church because I don't have nothing to wear. Well, that means you don't go to work tomorrow because you don't have nothing to wear.
That's right.
They've been looking at what you don't you worry about what you got on. The question what we should ask is that all you have? If a man walk into church barefooted, don't ask him why you don't have no shoes. How come you don't have no shoes? You don't come in with no shoes on. Find out why.
We don't have shoes.
And if you need some shoes, go buy him a pair.
Amen.
You see?
Yes.
God can't save shoes. He's looking for souls. So Kenneth had the ability to talk to people, and people will come. And I'll tell you somebody else who had that ability in their community. I used to just jump on them all the time. Sister Price, Sister Faye's sister, what her name? Judy. Judy Price. Judy Price had something that she could just haul out the door and get folks coming to the house. How do I know? Because I experienced it. Before we would meet sometime in the Wednesday night Bible class, you know what I did? I had what I call a mobile Bible study. And I did little things, you know, gifts with, and I would go from one home to another on Wednesday. Every Wednesday, we'd be, but most of the time, spend a lot of time in Hazelwood. We'd be at Sister Judy's house. Sister Judy could fill up her house. It'd be 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe sometimes be 10 folks there. Be so many folks in there, they couldn't hardly get in there. In her house. And you know how she would do it? I saw her doing it sometimes. She'd just go to the door and she'd see somebody do it. Hey, Joe, yeah. Come on in here. We having a Bible study. They stop and go right on into that. I used to pound her for that. I said, you don't utilize your talent. I can't do that. I holler at somebody across the street, they want to get something started, you know.
Yes, sir.
What you mean hollering at me? You know? But she knew those folks, you know. And she could encourage them. But getting them to come to church with something else, and I never know how that worked out. But some folks had that ability. I look at Barnabas, and Barnabas had that encouragement. And sometimes we have it, and sometimes individuals do. But God can use that. If He wants somebody to be encouraged, He needs you to do that. Because number 2, when a child or someone is hungry in this world, in this neighborhood, in this church, in the congregation, who does God need?
Us.
He needs us. He needs you to go and take care of that matter. When I was hungry, what did you do? When I was naked, what did you do? And as much as you did it unto the least of these, my brethren, you did it unto me. He's talking to us about doing these things. So God needs us. Galatians chapter 6, verse 10, Paul said, as we have therefore opportunity, let us do good unto all men. And what? Especially those
of the household
of faith.
Amen. Yes, sir.
If it's 10 folks standing out there that need something, and 5 of them is out of the church and 5 of them in the church, I'm going to the ones in the church first.
Yes, sir.
And if anything left over,
What are them to?
you see,
Yes, sir.
take
Amen.
care of the house
Household
first. Love started home, and then what?
Spread abroad.
Spread abroad. We said, we know how it works.
Yes.
God need us to do that. God wants us to do that. He tells us to do that in our words. In our work that we have to do. So God need us for those things. When we need somebody to be taught the gospel, taught the commandments that God has given for us to carry to man, who does he need?
Us.
He need us. He said, you go teach.
Teach.
Opportunity to present yourself, you do it. I want you to do it. Why? Because I have brought earthen treasures. I have brought earthen vessels into this work so that the joy that will be shared not only will be shared with God, but it will be shared with you too. And God has that ultimate joy awaiting for us. So he involves us into his work, into his plan. And for goodness sake, church, remember, as Paul said in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 15, speaking the truth in love. You know, you may talk to somebody and they just might get mad, they might get upset, they just might not want to hear it. But I always said, do your best not to build no wall. You know, when you walk away, fix it so the door is still open. So you can come back. You say, well, I don't like that fellow.
Yeah.
But what he said really was right. You know, and we teach that in evangelistic class. Do all you can to leave that door open, because sometimes the very folks that are opposed the gospel will end up being the strongest ones. Look at the Apostle Paul.
Amen.
He was a fighter against it, but when he got converted,
Yes, Lord.
he was look like me, he was stronger than he was before going for the gospel than he was when he was opposed to it.
Amen. Yes.
So God hasn't put that in our hands to be no judge in that matter. The very folks that you think will never obey the gospel will be the one that will come in and be the greatest workers in the church. I've seen it, I've heard it, and I have experienced it, even in my own family.
Yes.
My aunt died. She's 86 years old. She died last year. I had just about crossed her aisle. Because they were the one, when I was up in New York talking to them, they told me if I didn't quit reading that Bible, I was going crazy. That's how it is. You crazy. You better quit reading that Bible like that. The Bible make you crazy. I said, who told you that?
Yeah, that's right.
I said, you crazy if you don't read it. I was flipping stuff. They got mad with me. I was in the house, and I was kind of scared in New York anyway. I had never been up there before. Anyway, I was out there in Queens. I said, suppose they kick me out of the house. I don't know where to go. But her and my 2 aunts.
Amen.
We got into a big discussion one night before we went to bed. And I just told her, Gene, you don't know what you're talking about. I said, well, I'm not telling you what I said. That's the way it went. But 10 years ago, somebody called me from Alabama and said she had came into the church and was baptized.
Amen.
Guess what?
Yes, sir. Amen.
And as old as she was faithful. She was there every Sunday.
Yes, yes.
Wouldn't miss a service. Asked me a question one time when I got down there. Here my nephew. I know he gonna ask her. Is it wrong to cremate somebody? She hit me. I'll never forget. She hit me with that question. You know, I'm not gonna tell you what I said. Well, I did say something like Jesus said, dust to dust. You know, you came from the dust, you go back to the dust. But anyway, I never forgot that. And that's somebody that I never would have thought would have obeyed the gospel. And if you look around sometime, you'll see probably somebody in your lifetime or in your life that you never believed that would obey or accept the gospel of Jesus Christ. So when somebody needs to be taught, God need us. When somebody need answers to some questions concerning their soul salvation, God need us. He need us to do that.
Amen.
Not that he really, in a sense, need anything. But he has made it plain to us that we are a part. Paul said we are fellow laborers, fellow workers with God. So we're working together, you know. And when you're fellow laborers, he said we are heirs to the kingdom. Do you realize you are heir to a kingdom?
Yes.
You're not punching no clock. You know, some folks start when the bell rings and stop when the bell rings, right in the middle of everything. If you're teaching somebody and you say, well, I'm going to be here 2 hours, when the 2 hours is up, you just stop and leave. No. If it has to be, you teach 3 hours.
Yes.
You know, when you own the company, there's no such thing as a shift. No such thing as a 8 to 4 and a 4 to 11 and a 3 to 12 or 3 to 11 or something like that. You know, and if it was your child, your loved one that was sick, and you was taking care of them at home, would you put them on shifts?
No, sir.
Would you say, honey, I'm going to watch you 8 hours. When the bell ring, I don't get. You might be having a seizure or whatever, but I'm leaving. No, brother, it's different. God has made us heirs.
Yes, sir.
You're part of the family. You're in it. So God needs us. When false teachers creep into the church, the Lord needs us to do what? Stand up
For the church.
and speak the truth.
For the church.
He needs us for that purpose because he has fixed it that way. And once God fixes it, that's the way it is.
Yes.
That's the way it's going to work out. So we see that we must speak the truth. And got 2 more before I stop. The next is when the church is short of funds. When the church needs money, who do he look? Who does the Lord need?
Us.
He needs us.
Us.
1 Corinthians chapter 16, Paul said, now concerning the collection for the saints that are at Jerusalem. A famine was going on in Jerusalem. And Paul had asked every congregation to collect money so they could take it back to help the brothers and sisters in Jerusalem.
Yes,
and Paul said, upon the first day of the week when you all come together,
yes,
you lay by in store, you know, so there'll be no gathering
when I come.
You see what I mean?
Yes,
I've asked you ahead of time about giving this money for the poor saints. And when I come, I don't want to be running from house to house and getting them $2, $5, $10. Bring them all together. This let me know that they met on the first day of the week. When you all come together on the first day of the week, let every one of you lay by and store, no matter what it is, small, large, great, whatever. That's between you and God. God knows what you have before you give it.
Yes, sir.
And that's between you and God. Then he says again, whatever we sow, we shall also reap. If you sow sparingly, what you going to do? Reap sparingly. You sow abundantly, you're going to reap abundantly. That is a natural law in nature, and it's a natural law in the spiritual world. So God got it all fixed out. He got it all figured out. He know how the end is going to be. As a man purpose in his heart, what? So let him give. You know, that's the way God has told us to give. And when the church need that, the church need the members to step up to the plate. So God needs you. Whenever tempers flare, whenever there's trouble in the church, when harsh words are spoken, and unity is disrupted in the church, who do God need?
He need us.
He need us. He need us. In your family, the Lord needs you to do what? Fulfill your role as a family.
Amen.
In society, he needs you, he said, to be the salt and the light. And the salt of the earth. Yes, he did, Brother Pete. In the church, he needs you to be the pillar for the truth and the platform for peace.
Yes, sir.
So whenever there's something going on in the church, God don't want you to add to the problem. He wants you to be a peacemaker there to help solve the problem. And problems will come up.
Yes.
Things will disrupt the service of our Lord sometimes. And you have to take a stand and stand up
Yes, Lord.
for what is right and the things that should be done in church. And in my conclusion, 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 1, Paul said, "We then, as workers together with him, beseech you, that you receive not the grace of God in vain." Through the grace and mercy of God, we are who we are. And that's God said, Paul said, don't receive what you have in vain. You've obeyed the gospel of Jesus Christ. You're a child of God. Please don't let it be in vain. Because Paul said, what God did for me, I did not let it go to waste. It was not in vain. Paul said, I was worthy.
Yes.
I proved myself to be worthy. And that's what God wants us to do, the same, to the very best of our ability.
Amen.
To have been chosen by him and to go and bear fruit in this world as part of that great commission that he has given to the saints. So may God bless you this afternoon, and I hope that something is said, something to encourage and lift up your heart. It is a good thing to know that God can use us in his work and that God needs us. It is a wonderful thing to know that you're needed. You know, I mean, some folks think that, well, nobody needs me and nobody don't care. That's not true. That is not true. God needs you. He needs your work. He needs your service. And he needs you to do the things that he has commanded to do. So if there's one tonight that need to respond to the message, the gospel message, you might do so as together we stand and sing the hymn that has been selected by Brother Harold.